Sorry. Yes, good evening again. Good evening to all listening. Good evening to the management of this station. Good evening to those listening to us abroad in New York, in Miami, in those in Africa. Good evening to, or good night, or good evening, or morning, in which case, each case. Good evening to all my fellow empires who are not here at this time. We'll be having a very special guest with us this evening. I want to wish all of Trinidad and Tobago a happy Emancipation Day, a well-deserved holiday. When you think of what emancipation means to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And this evening we will be talking a lot about issues that shows or represents to a large extent how we would have evolved over the years after emancipation, and how what we will be doing to move forward into the global arena as it relates to business and education, finance, and everything that represents a growing economy. So this evening we will also be having, or I should say I will be having a guest with me. He's no stranger to radio, and he's on his way. He will be here shortly. So as you all know, as most listeners, if you are new to the program, this program is called the Third Empire, and it is fashioned around the cricket analogy. We use cricket as a metaphor. So the batting team is the government in office at the moment, and the fielding team, of course, will be the opposition. We discuss all areas of politics, geopolitics, how it affects us, how it affects our daily life, and we give insightful analyses on it. And you, as the pavilion, you, the listening public, you are invited to join in the discussion. Call us and talk to us about issues that we would have discussed and how you see it. So this evening, as promised yesterday, we did say that we will be talking, we will be infusing to a large extent the geopolitics, of the day, and how exactly it affects us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And also we will be also looking at the issue of emancipation and our development during that time, or over the course of the years since we have been emancipated. Trinidad and Tobago is a very small country in the world, in the global sphere, and it is also a country that have experienced, it is a Commonwealth country that has experienced to a large extent the same thing that most countries like Brazil, most of the other countries in the Caribbean and other places, parts of Africa, would have experienced in terms of colonization and to somewhat the kind of use and abuse over the years by what we call imperial nations. America, to some extent, was a colony, but inhabited by great powers over the years, just like we were, but they are seen as more developed. They call them, they fall under the group of first world nations, because to a large extent they remained in the hands of the colonizers. So Trinidad and Tobago, to a large extent, we gained our independence in 1962, and after slavery ended, the remnants of it in the 1830s, 1837, 1838, we would have experienced, to a large extent, some degree of freedom. Some people call it freedom. I don't think it was. I think, to a large extent, as I would have always said on this program, that slavery ended not as a consequence of any goodwill or any feeling that it was an abusive program by the colonizers, but because it just wasn't practical for slavery to exist again. And that's my opinion. But some will say it had a lot to do with the fact that the colonizers, to some extent, began to see it as very inhumane, and which to some extent brought about the cry by our colonizers and their population and their citizens that maybe they should end slavery. Slavery, in my opinion, would have ended because it was becoming very difficult very expensive, I should say. It wasn't making sense anymore to continue the slave trade. Not so much the slave trade, but the whole system of slavery. It wasn't very practical anymore, and I think they would have found better ways to have those that are here, or those less or considered less in society, perform the same job without having to take care of them take care of them and do all kinds. So in America, they had the sharecropping system, for which they would have given the lands to the former slaves and those who were formerly slaves. They were given the lands were given to them in some way, and they now had the opportunity to plant and harvest the land and that kind of thing, and then they would sell it back to the former colonizers. But what was happening at the time was that a lot of games were being played, and you find that they were ending. It ended where the planters, or those that were harvesting and doing all the work, they ended up owing at the end of the period, or the end of the month, when they are supposed to sell their produce to the former planters or the former owners. They ended up giving them it free, almost free, and that system in itself became a very advantageous system. In any case, I wanted to talk a little bit about the system in Trinidad and Tobago, because Trinidad and Tobago is made up of primarily the two largest group in Trinidad and Tobago would be former African slaves, and or descendants of the former African slaves and East Indians, who would have came here as indentured laborers, and they would have came after slavery was abolished, and it was found that to a large extent they still needed labor to plant cane and that kind of thing, because at that time cane or sugar was like the cocaine of the world, and it was much needed in places like Europe and North America and these places, and that the West Indies, places like Cuba, places like Haiti, Guyana to a large extent, Trinidad and Tobago, and other places, Dominican Republic, we were the breadbasket of Europe in terms of sugar and or some other producers like wheat and cotton. Well, cotton more in North America and that kind of thing. But that to a large extent evolved over the years. We had an education system that and I talk a lot about that over the years and on this program, and how the education system evolved. I spoke a lot about Christianity. Many of you who that are listening to me know my views on that, and therefore today we are free to do. We are an independent nation, and we are now free to trade with the rest of the world in the way the rest of the world trade with us. What is very critical today, and we all know the state at which we are in, right? We would have had the remnants of the oil infrastructure that we would have inherited in the early 70s from the Americans and the British, and we would have harvested to the extent that we were able to become probably one of the wealthiest nations in the Western Hemisphere per capita, and more so in the West Indies. We were known as an oil-rich nation. Nevertheless, many would say that we did not take advantage of the opportunity that oil boom, or those two oil booms in particular, would have brought to Trinidad and Tobago. And some would say that we suffered the Dutch disease that many would talk about, that we did not put a lot of the resources or the revenue that we earned from those oil booms. We did not use it, we didn't invest it in ways that we should have, so that today we are in a position where we are sort of hand to mouth in a time when we need to be really, really competitive. What is interesting about today and all of that to me is that we had some opportunities in recent time, and those opportunities would have really come largely from our diaspora, the African diaspora. And I want to talk a little bit about the issue or the opportunity that was presented to us over the years by the African Exim Bank in particular. And I really wanted to make some connection with my other umpire about the African Exim Bank. But the African Exim Bank, right? So we have I want to introduce you. Have a seat, it's good, right? I want to introduce you to a well-known figure in Trinidad and Tobago, and he represented Trinidad and Tobago also at the level, is it the Olympics? Right, the Olympics, 1996, and he's a well-known, he produces a knockout punch, I was told. He is Mr. Kurt Sinnett, and Kurt Sinnett will be sitting with us today as an umpire. Right, so Kurt, yeah. It's on.
Good afternoon, and a happy Emancipation Day to Trinidad and Tobago. Right. I really appreciate that, this opportunity to be here.
Nice. So, Kurt, today's emancipation, and I was just trying to wing the issue of emancipation, the fact that we had been through so much in terms of slavery, come out of that, got independence. We had the opportunity to have some, the remnants of what started with the British and the American, with oil and oil refining and that kind of thing. And we did get a sizable amount of revenue from that, but we didn't use it the way we should have used it. And so I was talking about the Dutch disease phenomena, and I was also about to talk about from our African diaspora, the issue of the African Exim Bank, and the fact that the opportunities that were available, or that is usually available from banks like Exim banks like the African Exim Bank, was always available to us under previous administration, past administration. I was wondering why they did not take those opportunities in the past, but I understand that this government is at this time considering significantly the MOU with the African Exim Bank. Now, I really wanted to get on the program some assurance from my other umpire, that is Salvan Mitchell, but he isn't here today. So, what is your take on the issue of the African Exim Bank, and if at all you understand the issues there?
Well, what I would say that I'm hearing you speaking about it. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. I would have liked to get a little more details on how the working of that bank really and truly function before I make really and truly any statement.
So that bank really, they support, like in countries like us, like ours, right? They support like SMEs. They fund projects that allows and find markets for you in other countries, in particular places like Africa and that kind of thing. So small SMEs, whether you want to produce eggs or you want to whatever you want to produce in a mass way, right? Vertical farming, however you want to produce it, they would fund those kind of projects and also find markets for you to be able to develop or get revenue, significant revenue for the country. Now, that, in my opinion, was always another avenue for us to get out of or diversify. And for whatever reason, I never saw, I know it was available before, because I think that bank has been knocking on the doors of Trinidad and Tobago for some time. And I think one of the conditions, if I'm not, I don't want to say the wrong thing, and I stand corrected. Maybe the other umpire who has that kind of information could call him. But I think one of the conditions that was put on the table, and that in before under the PNM, was that they wanted their executive to remain to be exempted from taxes. I think, if I'm not too sure, but I think that was one of the reasons why they weren't accepted. Huh?
That one of the criteria that
I think that that's what I was told. I am not too sure. Maybe he will call in at some point in time and tell us. But in any case, if we have a bank, if we are in the position, you know the position we are in Trinidad and Tobago, and if we have a bank wanting to give us those kind of opportunities, I don't see why those opportunities was not taken before.
I understand what you are saying there, but it's important for us to read between, to see the black and white paper, what it is really and truly.
Yeah.
Seeing that I'm not a lawyer, so it is important for me to have a lawyer to speak on behalf in connection with this. because what I would not want to do is to open up our country to any liability or any sort of foolishness that we can't afford at this point in time. But listening to what you are saying there, it sounds very good, and I look forward to seeing the development of that.
And I think if in fact this government should probably, because most of the other Caribbean countries, I was told, have already signed on to it. So I was just wondering why Trinidad and Tobago, being in the state or the condition that we are in right now, I was just trying to figure out why that wasn't explored before.
But what I would also say, if it is fact that the Prime Minister would have a MOU, that to me is most likely will be going down the right road. I think the Prime Minister at this point in time is actually seeking the best interest for Trinidad and Tobago going forward.
Yeah, and I think she's kind of like open. Maybe I should tell you, because I don't know if you heard before, but this program, this program is called the Third Empires.
Okay.
And what we do is we use cricket as the metaphor. So at the moment, the baton side is in the wicket, which is the government. And the fielding side is
the opposition.
Okay,
understand.
So when we talk about runs on the board, we're talking about the PNM already put runs on the board.
Yeah.
But they had 10 years. They had a lot of overs.
Okay.
In my opinion, they didn't score much.
And not just your opinion. I think honestly that is the reason why they would have gotten voted out, because they have failed.
Right. And to a large extent, the people of Trinidad and Tobago wanted to hear, what are you doing to get out of the condition you are in right now? You put this country, well, I don't want to say they put this country in, but I mean, by closing down the refinery and doing some of the things, taking some of the decisions they took in the past, that would have put us in a position where we certainly wasn't able to earn the kind of revenue we should have been earning, and all of that and others would have been probably some of the reasons why we end up in the position that we're in. But good governance would say that you try to etch out ways or find ways to earn revenue so that you could run your country. Correct. Right? And you could balance your budget and all of that. And I think at this time, I do have all the answers, but at this time, the government, so far from what I've seen, they are on the right track. No, that is the baton side.
No, I agree. I would agree that 100%. It's like today on my Facebook page, I told someone that the Prime Minister is, at this present time, I consider the mother of the nation. And she reminds me of Anna Robinson. But someone would say, oh, we will say that because they bring up 2010. They bring up 2010 time when she was in office. And nothing has been proven. I say, but I don't fully remember Anna Robinson was also mentioned as the man who take the $50 bill.
Yeah, well,
and he would and his term in office as Prime Minister, he would have implemented certain policies that are being used today still, that we cannot get rid of. So I have no doubt that our Prime Minister at this present time, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, will implement policies at the end of the day to benefit Trinidad and Tobago, and we're into the area where everyone at the end of the day will win.
What is interesting is that you hear a lot about, you hear the team that is in opposition, the team that is feeling right now. You hear them making a lot of noise about promises that Kamala made, but I mean, they didn't keep the promises, and they right now, the baton side I don't think they have what we had. First, we had to have a budget, right? Because the money that was most of the monies, I am sure, that was in the last budget for Trinidad and Tobago was used up between the time of elections and between the time of that last budget and elections. And what has happened now is that what the country have right now, we're running on fumes. We're running on just money to pay recurrent expenditure, pay salaries and that kind of thing. So I think what the government needs to do now, what they're doing now is planning
I
for
agree.
a budget.
I agree, and I think that this is the reason why she'd also
and that's only practical.
That is why, and what I've recognized, the Prime Minister also is now taking advice from the public. Understand? So she want to hear what some of you all have to say.
Interesting.
And that is important for any country going forward. It's important for when the people is part of the building process.
Interesting.
They cherish that.
Interesting, because we always say on this program that you shouldn't be coming to tell me what you're going to do. You should hear first what I want.
Correct.
Or what I need. Or what is my problem? Because sometimes you sit in your chair in Parliament, you don't really understand what's really going on down on the ground with the man on the street. So the good thing is they are hearing us. They are here. They are going to every constituency. They are hearing, asking in their pre-budget consultation, and I'm looking at it all the time. And that to me runs on the board for them.
Correct.
Right. So those are things that. So when we look at, and I was talking about the African Exim Bank because today is Emancipation Day, and it is African emancipation. East Indian weren't emancipated, although they came here as indentured laborers.
Yeah.
So to a large extent, when we talk about African emancipation, we're referring to the fact that our African our foreparents would have come here as slaves and they were emancipated eventually in the 1830s, right? So we're talking about emancipation, and now we're talking about the fact that our diaspora, to a large extent now, is extending a hand to us to assist in terms of SMEs and finding markets and that kind of thing, funding for those things. I think that, to me, if the Prime Minister, in her wisdom, should accept something like that in this time, that would be a big thing for Trinidad and Tobago.
I agree. It would be a big thing for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, in leading, especially so you're saying that
no, I think some other Caribbean countries would have already signed the MOU and they have already
it's important for us to start to do some trade with Africa. I think we're already doing trade with India.
And India, you see, what today was a day I planned to talk about the geopolitics.
Yes.
And what one does not understand, you see, the economics that America and China, right? They are the world's two largest economy. Both are liberal democracies. And to a large extent, America is probably the world hegemon, but they are dying. They are dying, and they are now dying swiftly. They are dying quickly with Trump's whole tariff policies and all that kind of thing. Because now you have a lot of countries is every day moving away from America because they don't trust America. America seems to be going down the wrong road with tariffs, and they just don't understand. A student 3 weeks into undergraduate economics could tell you that decision, that tariff decision that Trump is pursuing is futile and is also fatal for America, right?
What I would say that since I have known myself, I know that America has been the dominant force. That they are the world powers. But when I study history, I recognize that there were also dominant forces before America.
Yeah.
So it's important for us as a people or as a nation to keep a keen eye on what's the development that is taking place worldwide.
Correct.
Because it is possible that we are about to see
changing
changing of the guard taking place.
Yeah. It has already happened. Listen.
But be it as it may, at this point in time, America is the dominant force, and we just have to wait and watch and see.
What happened in the last few days? India was about to buy America F-35s. That's a deal. That signed a MOU to purchase the American F-35. It would have cost India something like $2 trillion over for maintenance and to purchase and maintain these planes, right? You know what happened? Trump, although he had promised India just a few weeks ago that the tariff wasn't going to affect them in the way that they thought, he dropped a 25% tariff on India. You know what India did? Yesterday, India decided that they're coming out of that deal to buy Trump plane. So Trump right now furious, right? And they have now gone into a better deal with Russia. They are going into a better deal with Russia to buy Russia's Su-57s and the Su-34s, and also to produce their probably the best known S-35, the best known defense system, which is the S-35, the S-500, and they are going to buy, not only buy the S-5, but they're going to be producing the S-500 also. So that is a massive blow. Massive blow to
I know it's a massive blow, but I really want to I want to stay in connection with the emancipation.
Right, yeah.
Today's emancipation.
Yeah. And so all of that.
And the question is asked is, are we truly emancipated?
Well, I can't say we are truly emancipated when we have America breathing down our necks anyway, and not just America, but Europe breathing down our necks anyway. We aren't doing any. We had so much wealth, and we weren't able to monetize it in the way we should have over the years to get the kind of result, to put the kind of, to make us independent. Agriculture is still something when you listen to our national budgets every year, and I'm really waiting patiently to see what kind of allocation we will get in our budget for agriculture. But when we look at what's happening with key areas of our development, right, that would make us self-sufficient, that would answer the question you are asking, we're not seeing it from our politicians. So we can't say we really,
no, it's not just the politician.
Mm-hmm.
As a nation, are we really and truly emancipated? And it's something that we need to take a look into deeply, because a lot of our issues that I would say that we have today have a lot to do because of not understanding really and truly emancipation, and not just say we move away from slavery. Emancipation of the mind is most important. Emancipation of the mind is most important. And to me, that is one of the areas that we definitely need to work towards.
Well, clearly, when you hear when you listen to the narrative and the optics coming out of the issue with the CPEP, clearly we have emancipated ourselves from mental slavery in any way, right? And if that alone if that doesn't tell you something or answers your question, then I don't know what would. Because somehow we still live in this dependency kind of bubble that we are owed everything. Somebody owes us something, rather than, you know, going to school, getting an education, and probably looking to develop yourself in a certain way where you You ever Google how to get rich?
There's lots of ways to how to get richer.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we just think for a moment and use the same education against them, right? Think for ourselves, right? What government, what's the purpose of government? In my view, the purpose of government is to provide an enabling environment for us to strive. But for some of us, we think that government has to...
You've got bills to pay.
Okay, so we'll take a break for
some bills on the street.
some ads and pay some.
Okay, no.
Come shop at the biggest African market in the Caribbean with its African-inspired art, craft, jewelry, clothing, books, delicious food. We're at the Queen's Park Savannah, transformed into the Lidjasu Omuale Emancipation Village for the 2025 Pan-African Festival TT, commemorating emancipation, July 25th to August 1st. Also, enjoy jazz, pan, calypso, reggae, dance, drumming, bois, art exhibits, and for the children, the African Heritage Camp and workshops. The village opens 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Free admission before 3 p.m. Just $40 after. Kids under 12, free all day. Bring your family, your friends, your vibes, and let's celebrate the 187th anniversary of emancipation, our heritage and future together. The Emancipation Support Committee, shaping sustainable futures through reparatory justice.
When your corporate event needs more than just food, it needs an experience, a Michelin experience. From mouth-watering buffet spreads to beautiful packed takeaway boxes, the Michelin Experience Limited delivers more than just wheels. We deliver flavor. We deliver satisfaction. We deliver excellence straight to your boardroom. Whether it's a conference, board meeting, or a retirement function, go beyond basic. Go bold. Go Michelin Experience Limited. Call us now at 1-868-474-2250 or follow us on social media at Michelin Experience. Great food, exceptional service every time.
If you love summer and you love pizza, then you'll love Pizza Hut's all-you-can-eat summer. Head to the Hut for our big buffet every day. Then simply upload your receipt to our social media pages for a chance to win a PlayStation 5, a 5-island cabana experience for you and 9 friends, and so much more. Check our socials for details. Pizza Hut, now that's delivering.
Looking for a preschool for your child? Well, look no further. At Leaping Learners Preschool, we believe that every child deserves a jumpstart to success in a safe and loving environment. We prepare your little ones for primary school while giving them the care and attention they deserve, whether they're 3 or 7 years old. At Leaping Learners Preschool, we cater to children with special needs and provide long hours of care from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. so you can rest easy knowing your child is in good hands. And for our tiniest learners, babies aged 3 months to 2 years, we offer nurturing daycare services to help them grow and thrive. Join the Leaping Learners family today. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Leaping Learners Preschool or visit our website at leapinglearnerstt.com to learn more. We are located in Barataria, called 744-1523. That's 744-1523. Your child's future begins with a leap.
This isn't just a bottle, it's a moment. Coca-Cola is asking you to come out on August 2nd at Shops at West City Canaan, 12 to 5 p.m. and customize your Coke. Can't find your name in stores? We'll print it. More info on Instagram and Facebook at Caribbean Bottlers TT.
We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. Play way fast cash, that is the fit. We rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win. No extra spend, just vibes and luck. Play way and fast cash turn up. We rollin', yes we rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win. Mega mix or monster pick. Jackpot from 10,000 quid.
Jackpot
responsibly.
Ikaro, I am Alatumishe Ifabamishe Aganki, better known as MC Duke.
And every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight,
I host a show called Orisha, The Way of Life, right here on the Street 919 FM, where I have guests passing through from the Orisha Ifa Baptist Diaspora to educate, edify, and inform you, the listening public, about Orisha Ifa practices. So remember to tune in
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight
for Orisha, The Way of Life.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Tune in to the Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 125 to 186 Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new, with Mr. Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on the Street 919 FM.
Join the winning team with Pastor Alkaline John
every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and every Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
live on the Street 919 FM as he talks about Lviv, the power of 5 fruits, one of the most powerful antioxidant supplements on the market today. The 5 superfruits in Lviv are mangosteen, acai, pomegranate, goji, and nuni. These fruits have a positive and profound impact on human health performance and disease. Join him as he gives live testimonials of the Lviv healing powers. To get more information, you can contact Pastor Alkaline John at 516-286-7079 or you can visit his webpage at www.alkalinejohn.com. Remember,
every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and every Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
live on the Street 919 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
United together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other. Help one another, pray for each other. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other, help one another, pray for each other. Tell my people, gather together, together. When Africans gather together, together, we become more stronger, and we will have the victory. We will have the victory. When Africans gather together, together. When Africans gather together, together, we become more stronger, and we will have the victory. We will have the victory. Let us stop killing each other, each other. Respect and love one another. One another. Uplift and help out each other. And rebuild our families. Rebuild our families. Let us stop killing each other. Each other. Respect and love one another. One another. Uplift and help out each other. And rebuild our community. Rebuild our communities. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other. Help one another. Pray for each other. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other. Help one another. Pray for each other.
Yes, callers and listeners, we are back. And so my good friend, umpire on the side today, would have asked the question just before we went for the break. Are we truly emancipated? And we were attempting to answer that question in some way as to whether we are emancipated. If you are here and if you are listening to us, maybe you can call us and we could have that kind of discussion. Are we truly emancipated today? So, what you saying? Why I think we are not truly emancipated?
Because I am of the being I think we're watching emancipation of being free, or we wearing African garbs. But what I think we need is emancipation of the minds. I think if we were emancipated, the issue that we are being faced with today, we would not have been faced with these problems that we have today. Mm-hmm. If we was truly emancipated, decisions made would have been in a decision of that benefit all.
So is it that you feel that we still in some way under that illusionary whip, that we feel that we have to pander to either government or pander to world powers or pander to somebody to give us something, or is it that? And without that we don't want to expand our minds and expand ourselves to develop ourselves. Is it that?
It's about laying the grounds for.
Because if you are saying that, then who would you say is responsible for us not being emancipated? Is it that you're talking about the people themselves, or you're talking about leadership? What?
Well, I would say that especially I would say coming from some of our black communities.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say, and I'll tell individuals, if you watch what is happening, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
We would have been freed. They say African man would have been freed. African man would have lost almost everything that what was in Africa. They were beaten to about. They were beaten to learn so much different.
What I mean was a whole coming to the West Indies to a large extent. I mean, you had to start with how you end up coming here. How you're captured, Gold Coast captured, put on a ship.
That's right.
Slave traders. The Middle Passage in itself was a terrible thing. If you read the history, there's a movie that depicts the Amistad. You ever saw that movie?
No, I never.
That movie, to a large extent, depicts some of the things that really happened. I've read it in some books like the Black Jacobins and that kind of thing. You have women and men tied on a chain as long as from here to Port of Spain, and everybody on about a meter away on a chain, right, naked, in a warm place. The hatch in the boat was like small, like probably a 1 meter by 2 feet high. So you go inside there and you staying inside there for most of the journey, and then they'll bring you up on the deck for air, or when they bring you up on the deck in chains, you're bruised, you're battered, right? And if you have like a small mutiny on the boat, they will take one of you and make an example. So they'll cut you up in about 300 pieces and feed it to everybody else. Or they have bad sea, bad weather, they will just send down about 30, 40 all in the sea on that chain, right? You can't stop it, right? And those are the kind of experiences. Now when you reach to the new world, what you call the new world, you reach Cuba or Haiti or Trinidad or wherever, you're sold. But your compatriot, where they held you, they would mix up the slaves in most cases. And if you look healthy, you look strong like you're a boxer, you're strong, you might fetch a big price as a buck. So you might fetch a higher price than, say, me. The thing is, all those were part of the psychological effects. And then even on the plantation, you had psychology on the plantation. So some males were breeders, hence the reason why they say some men, black men, sometimes just want to have more than one wife, and the philanderers and that kind of thing. But the thing is, all those are things that were seriously impacted our psyche.
Correct.
Over the years. Now, you ask the question whether or not we are truly emancipated. To answer that, you would have to go back to that also. But you would have to understand what our leaders would have perpetuated over the period of time since independence and since emancipation.
What has happened with some of, and these are the issues I spoke to you just now in connection with the thing that some of our people, the African people, would do. And yes, when now you talk about the leaders at the end of the day still inherit the colonialist system to the point of I consider it as a capitalist system. And I am of the view that that was what we inherited since Eric Williams' time, and coming out from slavery, and having as a country having natural resources where we consider to be with plenty of money. A lot of our people run from the land tour, you would know. They don't want it to have nothing to do with that. Some of the freed slave.
Well, why do you think that they would have probably run from the land? I mean, they are beating them all the time.
Yes, because they were beating them doors on the land. So at the end of the day, there was no sort of rehabilitation took place.
Yeah,
at all.
Okay, but now we live in a different time. We live in a different era. Why is it that we still, as you would say, afraid of the land, afraid to plant, afraid to even plant enough food for us, for ourselves to live?
Because of the narrative since way back. The land has been like it was perpetuated it was sent out in a way that, hey, stay away from the land because I've been there, I get beat, I get this Sparrow song could tell you, I'm a slave, I'm from a man. So you understand? So our issues as a people, black people, it doesn't stem just in Trinidad alone. If you watch worldwide, you will see what is happening.
So we learn to follow everything. we learn to take up all the bad habits, but for some reason we are not following or is it that we are still in some way not
Emancipated.
No, well,
we are
okay.
not emancipated.
Well, okay,
Mental,
but you're saying that,
we haven't been emancipated.
but the resources, how do you get the resources to, is it that, because government, remember I said before, the role of government, let me take this call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, the Empires.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Matheson and to your guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, we have another conversation about emancipation. But let me go back into slavery, right? Well, they were the house slaves, and then they were the whippers, and then they were the slaves to keep other slaves in check. And they give them small benefits. So, from inception, unity was never part of the status quo. And I believe that people are emancipated enough, but they don't have the unity. Let me take for instance.
To pull the other crab up the barrel.
Exactly. So let me give you an example. Let me say Mr. Matheson open a grocery in a neighborhood. And I don't want to call another name, I go say others. Open a grocery. Now Mr. Matheson will get support. But as Mr. Matheson started to get support, and I see Mr. Matheson was driving a 120Y, but I can't remember. But then he upgraded now and he get a Honda Civic. They said, nah, Matheson making too much money. Now they're going to pass Mr. Matheson's store and go by the others, and they will be driving a BMW. But there are no problem with that. So, you see, unity. If long ago, in the Neanderthal times, how do you think they survived? Not individual, they form a tribe. And in the tribe, they had chiefs. And the chief was the one who used to make the decision. And they followed the chief. But when they got taken from slavery and they come to the master farm plantation, they say, all right, you can't afford them to be unified. So let me split them. Let me give each a little position and give them a little trinket to keep them in check. So when they wanted to free slaves, said, nah, I'm not going. And if anybody here, they're going back to Master and say, hey, yeah, here they want to. And they didn't care because they had the little trinkets they were getting. So I believe if unification come into the play and we start to teach people to unify and stand with one voice, I think we will get change. So that is just my little concept about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
all right, guys, look, understand.
And the caller is correct. To a large extent, we don't believe in ourselves, boy. We don't believe in ourselves. And you see it here all the time. You see it in Trinidad and Tobago all the time. You will prefer to bring a man from Europe who don't look like you, because who have the same education, the same concepts, the same everything, but you bring a man from Europe to do and pay him 20 times what you want to pay me to do the same thing. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon, Umpire. I see you on Mr. Saturday. Let's keep on the cloud, Mr. Sarah. You know you also be the MP for Port of Spain, so but next time, let's keep on the fight and you get our support. I hear all the dialogue about the African Bank, right? For the last 9 years, I know they're advocating and lobbying for the bank and putting pressure on Dr. Roland to bring the bank up with black people. So we're looking out for the government now, the dialogue with the government now to bring the bank. If the government bring the bank now, we're going to feel ashamed Because the man who was to bring the bank to our faithful black brothers and sisters, he didn't bring the bank. But this government, they're going to bring it. Yeah, bless.
Bless.
And that to some extent should tell you how we see. You see, the thing is, for some reason, we don't have confidence in ourselves, boy. And so you ask, so that in
That's
itself,
why I ask a question.
that in itself
If you are truly
question.
emancipated.
we don't have confidence. Let me take this call. Good evening, caller.
Good afternoon, brothers.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, who common collective? It's saying man keep yourself from mental slavery. None but yourself can see our mind. Alright, when you program start, I heard you said, if we will live, man, let us our action, our attitude towards production, towards one another, it has been like it is today. I thought emancipation is lose yourself in action for me. Get yourself involved in things that is conducive to good living. Work for your money, then let your money work for you. Get yourself, learn to multiply or plant your money then to the street. You are an employee, but then you will be an employer. You're working for a small salary, but for how long? You start off with being from zero, and you rise to hero. You would invest, save, and be cheap. You would look to improve yourself. Improve yourself. Let me give some examples. You're working for, you're working sweat. You see, our culture, boy, have a lot to do with us. I heard on TV and TV show, you know, we government have enough money to give everybody $1,000 or $10,000. But if you give everybody $1,000 or $10,000, you're still going to find there are people who telling you how nice Tobago Beach is, how nice Barbados Carnival does be, while there will be who will invest their money. They will plan their money. They put up a little apartment and they know that something coming back. Now they could go to Tobago. I don't know why we just stationary and not being stationary.
But caller, let me ask you a question.
Tell me.
Who you think we should ascribe blame for that to?
Well, boy, culture, our parents, the system. Because you see, the wise will always live out of the fools, you know, it is written. But we of ourselves, how long will the black one continue to complain UNC PNM? My philosophy, no matter what government comes here, you can't keep a good man down. But me, brother, if I had to go in the gas station, buy petrol, bottle it out, and walk house to house, I will find a way to survive. I will. I'm bound to make it. This is my country. And not only my country, but me of myself. If I give you a little history about me and how I started and where I am, I'm not rich. What I'm saying is that we can make it if we try better. Just a little harder. We could make it if we try. You see, this Sunday is macaroni pie, kalalu, chicken, and by Tuesday, the gas down a yarn, I think they put. You see, we were asking questions on the radio recently, Tell me what is not a crime that should be a crime. And I say, what is not a crime that should be a crime is people trying to live beyond their needs. Live within your circle, within your circumference, within your income, and have the inspiration to achieve more. Be willing to grow and grow. But it has to do with you and maybe the environment you're growing, maybe your parents. You know, you will go to the market and you'll meet a little young man say, Papi, then can say, like, continue now. Because the little young boy from young is trained to make money, to grow himself. By the time he reaches 20 years, he buying a maxi taxi. If the little boy, today is your birthday, you know, take an ice cream. I say, give him a sheet of pie. Next birthday, give him a trimming machine. Next birthday, give him a next trimming machine. By the time he reaches 20 years, you have a bottle saloon. We could make it if we try. Let me give somebody a little chance of calling my brother that time.
Yes,
hello?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, he's quite correct with what he's saying here. And one of the issues that we need to deal with especially in the black community is money management.
Money management.
Money management is so key.
Who do you, I mean, what role you feel government have to play or should be playing in making us less dependent on the system like that? And probably,
well,
you think it's education?
No, education is one, but I would say that even for the short time that the CPEP is out of that is not functioning right now, there should be a time that a lot of the workers taking the opportunity to see how they could invest and change the whole dynamics and move away from the dependency syndrome.
I mean, you
know
can receive any money by a waka. Let me take this call. Good afternoon, fellow umpire.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, Umpire Mattis. I was tuning in when you were talking about, you asked the question whether we are emancipated or not. And if not, why? And what is the evidence of that? And I think you hit the nail on the head. And the evidence that to me suggests that we're not emancipated has to do with how we see ourselves and how we see power. So, for instance, in our judicial system, we believe that somebody external must adjudicate. And we are not fit. We are not trusting of our own. And that is totally remnant of slavery. You know, in slavery, the slaves never trust themselves. They never trust one another. And for simple reasons, they would betray each other. Actually, that's how we became enslaved in the first place. You know? We sold our brothers and sisters to those who came, who did not know the interior, who did not know the lands. People who resemble us carried them to conquer and sold them. And in many instances, even in today's society, this mistrust still pervades. We do not trust each other. And sometimes for good reason. That's the other thing. When we do get power, what we do is damage each other. What we do is kill each other. We still believe that as a society or as a community, somebody else is going to stop crime except the people in the community themselves. So a policeman must come and do it. And the policeman looks like us too. You understand? Somebody must solve our problems. Somebody must solve. So 3 people and 4 people can hold an entire community to hostage. Because nobody will say, this cannot happen, this will not happen. And those are the remnants of how we were taught. And you were asking about where does the problem lie at the core? The problem at the core, at least one part of it identifiable for me, lies in our education. What we are taught and how we are taught. Because we are not taught to believe in ourselves or identify ourselves as a identifiable class. We are not taught, as you've just taught, about money management. We are taught all sorts of other things, except we are not taught ideology. So, for instance, a day like today, what passes for emancipation is the celebrations and all the frivolities. But it has to be deeper than that. Correct. There's no philosophy that guides any of our celebrations. There's no thought, there's no talk. If you look at celebrations in civilized, in other developed societies, you know, it will be a week of discussion. You know, there will be a week of papers, a week of thought, intellectualism as well, even ground. And then I'm talking about university alone. But there are a lot of things, art, there are a lot of other expressions. But we tend to, even if our carnival, most of our things really end up into food, wine, and dance, and jam, and frivolity. And emancipation does mean more than that. It should mean more than that. So mentally, I think we're still not there yet. We can keep on striving. Nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody's coming to save us. There's no Messiah coming anytime soon. Good? But those are the things we were taught. That's how we were taught.
And if at all they're coming, if at all they're coming,
and even yeah,
they ain't coming to save us.
Yeah, even in our politics, is the prime minister, is the minister, I have to get a link, I have to get somebody. It is always external to us. It's always external to us gathering and saying, here now, man, how we could solve this problem, boy. What you could do, what you could bring, what I could do, what could we have. And we decide to gather. Two people in the group say, don't trust Matheson, you know. Don't trust them. So we really have a lot of the sentiments and the ideologies of slavery still pervading. And it reflects in how we see power. It reflects how we see politics. We're still looking for a black man party. I don't know which party is that. Really and truly. We don't see ourselves as an identifiable class, an economic group. We don't see ourselves, you know, in deserving more than small loans and car loans and small business. Small business is for us. Big business is for somebody else. And not even small business we into. But big business is for somebody else. And that whole thing about networking and how we pool our resources and collective action, we complain a lot, but then what? At the end of the day, bank fees unfair, bank charges unfair, but boy, what we gonna do? But if you start a little susu, two things gonna happen. Either before you get off the ground, your own members in it are going to not believe or not support or want it to fragment, or what we do with power is that we hurt each other. So somebody is going to cut off with all the money. Somebody is going to use it as a scam, as a scheme. And those things are definitely reflective of slaveries and all the attempts that we have had at revolution and even freedom in the past. Those efforts were subverted. If you read the Black Jacobins, you read all the history books, those efforts were subverted not by people who don't look like us, but people who resemble us. We have been historically our own worst enemies. Lack of trust, lack of confidence, and lack of accountability. We don't want to be accountable to each other.
But what role do you think governance or government should play in cementing the way we think of ourselves, or seeing ourselves as independent people, seeing ourselves as emancipated people? What role do you think government should play?
Well, I see this as civil action, you know. Government will actually only legislative and otherwise create the space to facilitate the dialogue. But it really can't be a government movement, because government has to govern for all. Correct. You understand? Remember, we have Indian arrival, we have emancipation. We have two cultures, two ethnic groups here. So government has to be bipartisan. But we can't want government to promote our agenda and our agenda alone. We must promote our agenda. We must take, Garvey did it. Unapologetically, Garvey did it. Good? Garvey did it. Garvey said race first. Unapologetically. Unapologetically. He was willing to discuss it. And it's not racial superiority. That's different. Good? But to tackle the hard issues, and that's why we have so much sensitivity in politics and in voting and all these things, because we have not had the honest and open discussions, you know. We have not had the honest and open discussions about the distribution of power. You heard a minister make certain, well, a former minister, statements when it comes to state boards, touching on nerves. Those things are still nerves. How many years after emancipation? You know why? Because we are afraid to talk about it.
So what would you say to the people who still looking for things like affirmative action in industry, and that's a big thing in the US, affirmative action, and well, I think that is needed in places like the US, but in places like Trinidad and Tobago, I think affirmative action is necessary. Ronaldo, did you hear me?
I missed the question. What about? No, I missed your question. That's why I called back.
No, I said, what do you think about those who believe in the concept of affirmative action, meaning that we should apportion a certain part of the wealth of the economy to one group of people because they are somewhat less fortunate and that should be legislated. What do you think about the people who ask for that? Is that necessary?
And here's my view. We have a multi-ethnic society. So anything like that should be proportional. It can't be for particularly one group. Because the two groups have stories of both. That's the first thing. And then we have to recognize that, yes, there are certain disenfranchised groups in the society and ethnic groups in society who, not because of their own doing, because of policies, whether it be banking, financial, legislation, are in particular economic situations. That also is true, right? But what is also true, which is actually the strongest argument in my view for the Trump ideology that is against these things, is that we have to take skill, in this day and age, we have to take skill into consideration. And if you take skill as a criteria, then, I mean, to be honest, affirmative action does not say that the person is not qualified or skilled, which is true. It does not say that you're just giving them it because of whatever. But if skill is the greatest goal, you know, what we want, you know, we have to have it. It has to be balanced. It can't be that alone. It just can't be that alone, because at the end of the day, remember, I was talking to you the other day and we talked about Garvey said that not all of us should repatriate because some of us have nothing to give to Mother Africa. Some of us are the contributors of crimes, violence, and all the ills in society. And we must also take that hard message about ourselves. Look at the ethnic composition of the jails. Are we going to blame somebody for that? Are we going to keep blaming people throughout our existence for our condition? And again, that is another. Things have changed, and I'm not saying there are still disenfranchised groups, because I am for those things. I am still for help, and you know, we must have some programs of welfare. But at the end of the day, we have to take some responsibility too, and that is another thing. Slaves, they didn't take responsibility for their own freedom. Good, and we have to take responsibility for our freedom. We have to take responsibility and say, it is not any white man or somebody coming in our community and doing these things. Most times, the perpetrators of these things, even though they might be secondary in the whole criminal system, they look like us. Somebody is going to get somebody that look like Stephen Matheson to come into Stephen Matheson's house. So look at the effects of that on stand your ground legislation. Who are going to be the victims of that? Who are going to be the ones caught in it? What are they going to look like? We can almost make a guess. And that just tells you we have to be responsible for saying no to certain things and certain ills in the community and in our society. We still have to. So I see the balance of the two. I do see action targeted at groups. And again, if you're talking about government, it must be groups across the the ethnic divide, who are less fortunate and who are less able to pull themselves out of the bootstraps. Because we must admit that certain groups have had policies and legislations that favor their economic wealth. That is true.
Yes.
But that doesn't say they did not work hard.
Correct.
And that doesn't say that some of us are guilty of jamming still. It's jam and wine. It's frolic. You know, we still into that kind of a mode when there is opportunity, maybe not for everyone, but opportunity exists for us to do better, and we must do better. We must do better. Look at MedSci in UE. Look at engineering faculty in UE. Where are we? Where are we? And when we reach, we look down on somebody, we look like Stephen. He said, no, don't trust me. Nah, don't trust me at all. So we have conflicts within ourselves to resolve. We can actually have some self-conflict, self-identity. We have an identity crisis, which we need to resolve. Nobody going to do that for us. So government and governance has to create the space. It has to create the opportunity for us to introduce things in our curriculum, ideologies, but we must be willing to have the discussions. We must not shoot it down, and we have to be responsible for our self-determination is part of emancipation. Self-determination.
Correct.
We have to determine that. We must say, listen to me, we know not all of us are saints. Yes, there's corruption, but somebody miles away should not be in charge of the way we rule and govern ourselves, because we feel that there will be more fair and more just than Steve Matheson, because they look different. And then that is something we have to address. We can't blame, we can't put at anybody. The blame game must stop. And that's the first step. We must make serious action, affirmative or otherwise, towards remedying our situation, seeing ourselves as a collective and not being divisive and very fragmented.
So at the end of the day, it have to start with us.
Correct.
Right? What you will tell to the people in your community, the younger people who you mentor.
Well, I would say to you, is he still on the line? Or you allowing him to?
Yeah, he's on the line.
Okay. I would say to the people of Port-au-Prince South, and since I went up here as the person to represent under the coalition of interest, I've had pretty, I would say, successful engagement with even some of the younger ones and some of the older heads, and I'm seeing a lot of them that I think we need to create that opportunity for them to. When I say opportunity, I'm not almost giving them. As government, we need to just create that opportunity for them to be part of the building process, and I think we will have better citizens when they're part of the building process, because I don't see them mashing up the bill.
No, but remember we talking about, are we truly emancipated?
Correct.
So what level of consciousness do you think you should project to the people who you mentor, in terms of getting out of where they are and putting themselves in a place that makes them marketable, doing certain things, engaging in certain activities that...
Especially some of the young guys who would be on the streets. They need to now take that time and let's see how we could get into a trade school to further their studies in whatever way, so that they could be, it will bring some sort of value to them. That is the key interest I have right now, to try to see if I could get some of those young men into trade schools, and so that they could be more effective to society.
And therefore, what would you say to the government that is in office now and hearing or understanding the consciousness of not just the black man but the young people in society, and that ideology that thought that we are not truly emancipated?
Correct, because I am, as I said, are we truly emancipated? And I said because of the what we are seeing taking place in our country shows that we are not truly emancipated. But we now need to create that nurturing ground for that true emancipation to take place. Because even yesterday I was having some discussion in my constituency with some young men and telling them, I say, some of you all should have been learning trade and right Guyana. We should have been shipping you all out to work right in Guyana.
Let me take this caller. Caller, good evening.
Pleasant good afternoon again. Pleasant good afternoon again. Hello?
We are hearing you loud and clear.
All right, my friend. Well, it's basically the same thing we are all saying. Culture, personal responsibility. You will hardly hear the politicians having programs like you all are having now. They would tell us vote for them, come, lower food prices, lower gas prices, they send discounts, you'll make life easy. But the opportunities, the windows are there. It's already there. Put out there for young people to grow and develop themselves. Foster Cummings had some windows and doors open where young people can grow themselves. I say it depends on the books you read, the shows you watch, the radio stations you listen, the places we go, and the friends we keep will determine how far we will get. We gravitate to the wrong thing than the right thing. Well, of course, man prefer darkness more than light. But I find the opportunities there are here. They are here. I am now passing here at Savannah here, and I'm watching to see which one of us is selling something. We are in the football field, almost hundreds of people there. Is any one of us selling anything to one another? Our culture really have a lot to do with who we are. We've got to involve ourselves in business, get more business oriented. The opportunities, I think it is here given by the government. The government wouldn't tell us because, like I say, the wise will live out of the fools. But if, let me just say, if we learn to plan to our money fund, invest, save, be cheap, mind our business, encourage each other to be strong, we can make it if we try, we will get there. We will get there, my friend. Let's turn on this now.
Yeah, good evening, caller. Hello?
Yeah, man.
Good evening, caller.
I hear everything. How you going, everybody? Good afternoon. I think it's one day and I wonder what you're talking. Anyway,
Mr. President, we hear you. Mr. President, we are hearing you.
Right, I'm listening. Well, what really happening? I heard the program on the government, and I want to put in something. Now, we have to look at the society we have. And the society we have is like a brother was now talking there. And as I say yesterday, the conference had to deal with, we had to deal with concepts where the change of structure of a whole order of living. We can't live with that. I keep on saying that convoluted system because it's that we live in under still. Where we may call the educated,
they're being governed by an education they got. But where they got that from? They got that from the masses and them who create a system for us to live today. And unless we could put something to oppose that system, not like fight war or nothing, but something that will carry to the people and automatically put the conglomerates, the masses, the Oreos, the everything in the place. Now, the honest thing, that is the honest way, you know. Because I always they say something and it will always stay in my mind. The capitalists will not let go that reign on the slave. So if the slave don't understand himself through emancipation to eventually liberate himself, knowing what is liberation. And as the liberation is to free yourself from the evils of another. So you liberate yourself into a consciousness of self and God and nature and these things, and then we have a lot to talk about. I can't talk about it now. But it's a whole constructive change. Like every program out there now, you know, that is why the program comes to me. It's dealing with that. Because every human being will be finding himself in a position that every human being have a portfolio for production. It's going to need growth. It have the justice. It have everything set. Who going to be in position at the right time? It's all depending on we taking up the consciousness and move with it. And the consciousness itself teaches because it has all the mission after the vision that it has. So I leave it unto the educated people to move. I just as a creator and create certain consciousness that has a vision to deal with the issue of that colonial system that is upon us. And I maintain that somehow I must put something, and I see that what God gives me to put something to disrupt that. I mean, the only we. The brother said, we just now, we are the kind of conscious of ourselves where we are, and able to structure something to move out of it. Otherwise, nobody at all going to do that for you in the high bucket of money, greed. The scripture says greed is the problem. Then the man who is below suffering must know you have to break the greedy man. And all what all you're saying is nice. Form the organization in some way that I put out there, and we might really go somewhere if we follow conscience.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're coming up to the end.
Nice, my brother. Thank you.
Right? But what I want to say out of everything we say here, the brother before this guy said something, and he said that, you know, we tend to gravitate to all the wrong things sometimes, and there's so much out there for us to learn. You know, a guy once told me, he said the acres of diamonds is right in our backyard, and sometimes we're not even looking, we don't know that it is there. But the acres of diamond is right in our backyard, and a mine is really a terrible thing to waste. Right? A mine is really a terrible thing to waste. If you say you're on YouTube all the time, you know you can learn almost anything on YouTube.
Yes, you can learn almost
anything you can learn on YouTube. And you can learn the good and you can learn the bad, but you can learn something if you have nothing else. And you have internet, go on YouTube, and whatever you desire to learn, just put it on YouTube. And I'm sure you'll be able to learn something from time to time. I remember I was in university and I learned things, concepts that I didn't even understand from YouTube.
What I would also want, before we leave here, I know we're looking to wrap up. And it's a discussion that we need to have. It have a book that also plays an important and integral role to how we think today as a people, that needs to be discussed, because there are certain things that is involved in it that I don't know if it's because we didn't understand really and truly what they say, or we thinking it is literal. Because, and that book to me is the book they call the Bible.
Right. Okay.
It's something that we need to get into discussion with, because some people sometimes sit down and will wait and say that God is going to do it for them.
Nice. So, ladies and gentlemen,
so thank you.
We had a very good discussion this evening, and we will be coming back to you on Monday, as usual, from 4.
You've got bills to pay.
We will be
and so
leaving you
do
now.
we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.